So I want to speak a little bit about the difference between activism and energy or esoteric work. I've been an activist for most of my adult life, and specifically when I fell pregnant, I became very involved in anti-pharmaceutical activism and in breastfeeding work and anti-circumcision work, and latterly feminism and violence against women and girls. And I've also taught, so I have experience with dealing with large groups of adults. And in the feminism world, I recently led a workshop with 55 people in it. So I really have experience in that field. And I thought that going from that field to doing large workshops in the esoteric field would be very easy. And so far, parts of it have been very easy. And my experience has given me the ability to manage difficult situations as well as and hold space for people that are in sort of crisis. But it's also got its limitations. And I realized that recently when we had a process that turned out to not be light and fluffy. And so what often happens in the feminism spaces and the activism spaces is we add in therapeutic processes that are more energy work. Because of my background in kinesiology, I've done things in the process, things like role playing, which I'm trained in, and grounding processes, and we connect with the divine feminine and we do blessings. And so that sort of light and fluffy stuff is always positive in activism because it's brought in as a means to ground people. Because the energy and the medicine that you're working with is activism. And activism is very masculine in that way, because what you're doing is you're shouting and fighting for rights. You have demands, you have specific language that needs to be recognized. And so it's a much more contentious and kind of masculine energy in those spaces. And it comes with its own sort of jargon and pathology. And pathology is an interesting term. So as an evolvologist, I don't work with diagnoses and I don't work with drugs or pharmaceuticals. I work with an energy. And what happens in those kinds of spaces is people come into the spaces with a burning need for their voice to be heard and to have specific carbon reality kind of issues hammered out. So this is a problem. Let's say in feminism, we're having a problem with violence against women and girls. When women need their voice to be heard, we need to make sure that the right language is in place so that women are protected in language, and we need to put safe protections in so that they're protected against sort of male energy. So that's it's a very fiery space. It's a very fiery posture to hold. And it's fine for that fire to come into the esoteric and energy spaces, but the premise is completely different. So the premise when it comes to energy work is that you know that what you're doing is a metaphysical thing. It is not about this carbon reality, and it's not even necessarily about this life that you're in. It's about your soul and your spirit, what's happening on an overarching spiritual level. And we work holistically. What's happening in your body, what's happening in your mind, what's happening for you emotionally, what's happening for you spiritually. These are all the things that we work with when we're doing an energy work. And so people will come into this space sometimes thinking that it's going to be similar to the feminism circles that they've been in before, or the therapy circles that they've been in before. So they come in a lot with diagnoses and with pathologies. And we don't work with that in energy. What we're doing is we're trying to get above all of that programming, because that medicalization of your mind is a programming. It's a pharmaceutical programming that belongs to this simulation, and it's something that is self-limiting. It keeps you trapped in the simulation because you start saying, well, these are my pathologies, or these are the pathologies of the people that I'm working with. These are the diagnoses that everybody's got, and I need to position myself thus in reaction to that. And then when it gets into psychiatry, these are the pathologies, and I need to now medicate myself so that I'm able to deal with the pathologies and the diagnoses of myself and the people in my space. Energy work is completely different. So energy work, the medicine that you're coming for is not always going to be light and fluffy. Sometimes that will be a bitter medicine, but it is the medicine that you need in that energetic space. The right things are in place for you to have the experience that will show you what your patterns are and show you what you need to do. So going forward, I think I need to make it much clearer to people that are coming to do work in this sphere that we're leaving really the programming of that medical model behind, because that's really not how you work when you work in energy medicine. You work on an energetic, holistic level. And I mean, if you just think about this, you know that consciousness is moving along at such a speed, and consciousness science is moving along at such a speed that even large organizations like Princeton, MIT, governments around the world are now starting to realize that they can manipulate carbon reality with belief. Mind over matter. It's as simple as that. What you believe is what you will manifest in the world. And so what I want you to do when you come into an energy healing space, next time you come into that space with your intention, is to be completely open-minded and allow yourself to experience it as an energy that is going to holistically work through all of your auras, right down to the core of your being. But it's also going to be working on the spirit that's inhabiting the avatar that you're in now. Because you are not your psyche at all. Your psyche is just a collection of the stories that have formed you, the stories that have programmed you, the family you were born into, the early experiences that you had, all of that programming around schools, around influential people that tell you who you are, and the self-belief that you have. And so what you're manifesting in every moment is a physical representation of the beliefs that you hold about yourself and about the world. We're mass hallucinating a platform to have that carbon reality, and it's a fantastic program. It's amazing. But if you want to change the programming, you have to let go of anything that binds you into that psyche, into your belief that you are that person. You are not that person. You are a much bigger thing. You're having that experience right now, and you can change it. Anyway, a longer video than something I can put on Instagram, so I'm putting it on here in the hopes that in future I can share it in places where it's needed.